Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So this is what I've been asked for, how to adjust or swap out the physical spring for the tension. We have got the little screw in the bottom where you can adjust it, but it does come with hard and soft springs in the box. So let's bring in for a close-up look and show you what kind of fun this is. Right, so the first thing you're going to want to do for this, although it's technically possible to reach some screws, especially with tiny Allen keys, you'll just make your life so much easier if you just whip out these two retaining screws. So let's get something to put them in. And it looks quite a daunting task this, but to be honest, if you do it in the correct order, it's not too bad at all. In the box, we do get a soft spring, and then we get a hard spring, so I'm guessing the one that's fitted is the medium. Would make sense. But all we need to do is get this out. Then we can move the transmitter to one side. We can flip this over. So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And we're going to need to remove all these. And definitely quite an easy one this, because they're all 1.5mm hex. And they're all exactly the same size and length. No chance of getting these mixed up or anything confused with them. I must admit this isn't the easiest transmitter to swap these springs out with. Try and get as much light in here as possible. So we need to remove the back plate, and that just lifts out. So we've got that out of the way. Next, you want to slide these two bits on this ribbon cable fastener. You need to slide that up and then gently remove this ribbon cable. Be very careful not to break that. You can remove this bit if you want, if you don't trust yourself with the ribbon cables. Then next, we've got these 3 larger screws to remove. Technically, you can get away without doing this, but then realigning it once you've changed the spring would be an absolute nightmare. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Then we have 1 smaller screw that needs to be removed. So that's 3 of the wider ones, 1 of the smaller. Then we're going to want to remove this. And all you need to do is carefully just tease this board up. It does come out quite easy. So as you can see on that one, we've got us 2 switches, and we've got this what actuates another switch under here, and then you can see all the trim switches and the pot for the steering. Now we've got the spring here, and technically you could mess around with tweezers and get to that, but to be totally honest, it's not many more steps to actually strip it down to be able to really easily get to it. So if we just pop the 3 trims out, and then you've just got 1, 2, 3 screws. So you can quickly remove them. They're all the same size. So once we've got it down to that, if you just very carefully wiggle this piece up, make sure you hold the center shaft down. And once we get this off, we've got as actual arm one that's bearing. So we've got the brass steering bit that goes through to the steering wheel, and then we've got a spring on here. So the actual spring itself should fasten on that way. So if you want to swap it for the harder or softer spring, you can just take your pick. So to build this back up, you're going to get this little piece. You've got the notch on the top. You want to put your spring onto the notch. Then we've got the arm. So we can hook this over. Then you've got a slide mechanism on this part. So let's see if I've got a way of doing this that's going to make it easy for you to see. Basically, this part is where your spring mounts, and then it slides into this part like that, so you can see the mechanism goes inside. Once you've got the spring on, you've then got a hook on this arm, and that fits through like that, so you can see how the tension works. Then we've got this bit. So basically, if you put a bit of tension on the spring, you can pop this in through the actual bearing, and then that's how it's going to ride on it. Then we've got to carefully get it underneath this. Now you're going to want to line it up with the steering wheel. So once you got that lined up, you can start dropping it back into place. Then you're going to want to put a bit of tension on this to lift it over the mechanism inside that makes it auto return. And you can tell when it's gone in because your wheel will work. So just put a little bit of tension on the arm and it'll drop in. You can do this multiple ways, whichever way you find easier. You can leave the brass bit in the actual wheel carrier and you can put it on that way. I just find it sort of keeps this arm in place while you're getting it all back down. So once we've got that where it needs to be, we've then got our 3 screws that we need to put back in. So we will have one at the top here. We've got one just above the spring. We've got one at the bottom. So at this point, you should have a fully working wheel. Then we've got to put our trims in place. Just again, be very careful with this little ribbon cable. And these just drop into the hole. Then we're going to lift this ribbon cable. And I get this mechanism. And I would suggest putting the ribbon cable back into this socket now. It does seem to be easier doing it this way, as you can grab the actual ribbon cable. And once you've got it in, you just push it closed. Then we've got to line this back up on the wheel itself. So just be careful, don't force it back on, and just slowly wiggle the wheel until this lines up with the pot. Once you've got that in, your ribbon cable should be sat back where it was. We've got the smallest screw. That goes in the bottom right hole as you're looking at it. And we've got 3 of the larger screws. Just be very careful as you're putting these back in. Don't over tighten everything. And if you feel that as you're screwing these down, if you feel the circuit boards flexing or anything, then the chances are you've not got something in place. These should stand just proud. As long as you take your time with this, the whole process is pretty easy. It's more steps than I'd like to see for changing springs, but if you just make sure you've got proper movement of all your switches and dials and trims, then if you drop this back on at the top first and then the bottom, it does clip in pretty simply. And we need the 1.5mm driver again to put all 4 of these screws in. Again, this is pretty simple. Don't over tighten any of these tiny screws. Don't push down way too hard on the actual wheel itself, because you're putting all this weight and stress on the wheel and on the shaft that holds it. You don't want to be breaking anything off on that. So just bear in mind it is tiny parts you're working with. And then once we've done that, we can bring in our transmitter, and all you've got to do is line these up and these slot. So you can pop that in, grab the 2.5mm hex, and we just need to screw that down. Again, don't go crazy tight with them. Then you can fine tune the tension on the actual spring with the screw in the bottom. There is also a 1.5mm hex. So you can screw it all the way in or all the way out. Depends how you want the actual tension, just to be fine tuned. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it, to swapping the G11P spring. Yeah, it does seem a little bit sort of intense. There's a lot of screws to remove and a circuit board, but it is quite easy, and if you follow my video step by step, you should still have a fully working steering wheel when you get it all back together. So let's wrap this one up. So there you have it, YouTube, the Flysky G11P and how you change out the tension spring. It does look a bit more daunting than what it actually is. As long as you go step by step, it really is that easy. Technically, with the right sort of angled tools, you could do it without removing the wheel from the transmitter, but for the 2 screws and the seconds it takes, it's so much easier to have the wheel off separate. And I do appreciate Flysky designed it that way, just to make it easier to get to stuff. Again, there's multiple ways of putting it back together, but I do find popping the brass insert out, putting it through the bearing, put the tension spring over it, it lets you get it in place, then just lift the tension spring over the mechanism on the wheel, on the backup wheel that returns it, and it does seem to go together pretty easy. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. Hopefully you find this useful, entertaining, or a bit of both. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.